Seattle to me is a really interesting case. I don't think moving from Geno to Sam Darnold is a massive upgrade. I get the getting younger part of it, so it makes me scratch my head a little bit there, especially because Geno is still playing good ball for you. Blowing up what was, in my opinion, the best wide receiver room in football, when you're talking 1 through 3 talent, um, doesn't make sense to me either. They've had some good signings in terms of adding to the defense and adding, majority defense aside from Sam Darnold, really, but 3 years, $100.5 million for Sam Darnold. You still can't sell me on that off of 1 year, man. You just can't. He looked horrible for so long. He gets
I
in one
agree.
system that fits him, and to pay him that much money and just expect it to be the same, it's too risky for me. I would have liked him on the Browns if he was coming for like 10 million a year.
But don't forget that
33, I'm
Sam
good.
Darnold is the Seahawks are saving money signing him. So, yes, it sounds like a ridiculous contract, but they got the cheaper quarterback in the end.
I'm curious what the trade of Geno Smith is going to mean in terms of the Raiders and quarterbacks, because it came out that they want to commit to him long term and sign a contract, but does that mean they're going to draft a guy or attempt to draft a guy this year or next to sit behind him and learn? It's really interesting.
Yeah,
That's a really good question. Go ahead, E.
it makes me wonder too. Tom Brady's part owner of the Raiders. Is he making or influencing any of these decisions? I don't know the answer to that, but it's an interesting thing to question. I wish he would give his take because I'd be fascinated to hear it.
Yeah, I was going to
Me
say with
too.
Tom Brady, you literally took almost every word out of my mouth. I was going to say with a guy like Tom Brady as part of the front office, quarterback should be the one position where they might know a little bit more than they're letting on, but it's also the Raiders. I can't throw bricks in a glass house as a Browns fan because we suck at everything too for the most part, but the Raiders are right there with us, and if it can go wrong, it will go wrong kind of franchise.
And
I
by the way,
mentioned,
just
go ahead.
going back to the Seahawks real quick, keep in mind that they're in a league with the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Rams. There's a lot of movement in that whole I said league, I meant division.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movement in that whole division. We've been talking 49ers quite a bit too. It'll be really interesting how that shakes out by the end of the year.
Jeffrey Champion talks about Malik Willis, Joe Milton, a lot of Browns fans saying bring them in, to be our potential starter. Jeffrey, you should definitely go check out. I just wrote an article on Joe Milton and this exact topic. We talk about that in length over there, so go check it out. It's on Fans First Sports. Got to give myself the shameless plug there. I mentioned Kyle Trask earlier in the show as a potential backup option for the Cleveland Browns. He signs back to the Bucks for 1 year, $2.78 million. Interesting to see how his career goes, continuing to stay behind Baker Mayfield there. One thing I wanted to ask you guys, though, was the AFC North, the division we're in. What do you think of some of the moves that are going on there? Because there's been some decent sized moves going on. DK is a Steeler, DeAndre Hopkins and the Ravens. I want to open the floor for that one.
My very first question when we have a Steelers fan at the office, Noah and I do, and he was very excited about DK, and I would be too. I think he's a fantastic wide receiver. But my first question was, who's throwing him the ball?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, who's throwing him the ball? Second of all, you have another diva wide receiver on that team. There is only one ball. I don't know that that will work out for the Steelers like people think it will. I could see that situation going south. I respect Tomlin. I think he's a player's coach and he'll have them ready. But we've seen that receiver room in the past not be able to get along and function well with one another. And it'll be interesting to see how that progresses.
Yeah, and looking at another team in our division, it's the tale of the haves and the have-nots. Feels weird as a Cleveland fan to say, well, the one thing we don't have to worry about is money because it seems like Jimmy and Dio back up a Brinks truck in anybody's driveway if they ask nice and go on Radio Row at the Super Bowl. But the Cincinnati Bengals got to be sitting there thinking, not only aren't we really active in terms of free agency, getting pieces in. I mean, these guys competed for a Super Bowl in the last few years. They have Jamar Chase. They have T. Higgins. They have a great defensive end in Hendrickson. And they're not doing anything meaningful. Like, do you give a shit? You're just going to let Joe Burrow rot on your bench. I mean, you talk about people knowing your conspiracy theory of people who aren't really available, who we want to see here, who could be available. I don't think it would be a hard sell to get Joe Burrow out of Cincinnati to Cleveland. I don't know how you make it happen, but man, you
We
talk
have
about
never traded in the history of the two franchises. We have never traded with them. To trade a franchise quarterback in division, we'd have to give up literally like one entire side of the ball, including Myles Garrett. The whole defense would have to go, and a first-round pick, and a kiss on the cheek.
I might give that for Joe Burrow. I mean, to get a franchise quarterback,
and with
he signed through what, 2032 with them?
Yeah. I mean, who on the defense other than Myles Garrett are you married to?
Denzel Ward,
Maybe
JOK if he plays again.
For Joe Burrow?
For Joe Burrow?
That's
I'll
fair.
sign the replacements
totally
to get
fair.
Joe
I'm
Burrow.
just playing devil's advocate here for a second.
If they said trade your whole,
totally
if they
fair.
said give us your whole defense and a first-round pick, and we'll give you Joe Burrow, I think I pull the trigger.
I think I would do it. Joe Burrow is top 5,
so good,
maybe top 3. Where did he land on our list that we just did?
Well, he got MVP vote.
Yeah, I mean, he was top 4 for sure. He was in our 4. I think he was 2 or no, he was 3 behind Lamar. No, he was 4. He was behind Lamar at
Josh
2,
Allen
at
Patrick
3,
Mahomes.
and Mahomes at 1. Yes,
I think I had him at 2. Eric had him at 3. Noah had him at 4, and that's where he ended up, something like that. But clearly, he's a top-tier quarterback.
100%. He's tier 1, no doubt. Does DeAndre Hopkins on the Ravens scare you guys at all? I don't really. It doesn't really push the needle for me. Like, DeAndre Hopkins is still a solid receiver. Don't get me wrong, but he's
the Ravens
older.
are a weird. They on paper should be the scariest team in the NFL, and then they get to the playoffs and they're anything but. So nobody that they add. It doesn't make a difference in my opinion, because we've seen what they are and who they are in the playoffs. That has not changed until they can get over that hump and get over the Chiefs or Bills or whoever. They
or the Texans or whoever the hell else. I mean, when I heard this, I go, great. Another guy for Lamar Jackson to overthrow in the AFC divisional round. Next.
Which is so crazy. I mean, you have a guy that puts up unbelievable numbers and then folds as soon as it's playoff time.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane. I'm trying to think, is there any other
less often? You see it a lot less often in the NFL. So this is a surprise. But you know how in basketball and baseball, you'll have regular season champions, and then we know they're going to fold. Like, there's teams in the NBA every year. It reminds me when the Cavs had LeBron and we'd play Washington with Gilbert Arenas. And everybody's like, oh, this is the year. This is the year. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the Washington Wizards. Like, can we stop?